Welcome to the Detailer's Dock, anchoring you in the world of marine detailing. Whether you're a seasoned detailer or just starting out, this is where every detail matters, with your host, Captain Ken Mercer from Marine Detail Supply Company.
Hey, y'all. Welcome to the next episode of the Detailer's Dock. And today we have the pleasure of having Noah Corcoran, right? Did I say that right?
Yeah, Corcoran's good.
Corcoran on the podcast. And the reason why this podcast here is special over all the other episodes that we had. So Noah is one of the owners of Marine Detail Supply Company. A matter of fact, his location there is in Charleston, and we do have plans on having all the other owners on, but Noah gets the pleasure of being the first owner in the portion of this podcast, right? So Noah, where exactly is the Marine Detail Supply Company that you control?
Yeah, so we're here in the beautiful low country, Charleston, South Carolina. We're a little bit inland. I'm sure we'll get into it. Originally my journey and how I started was with the mobile truck, and now, it's taken some time to get a shop and a storefront. So not the most ideal location, but I go with the field of dreams. If you build it, they will come. Right. And I've been fortunate enough to see those numbers kind of increase over the time that I've been here in store. So we're right off for anybody familiar with Charleston, we're up in North Charleston, right over by a really industrial area where a lot of car dealerships, Boeing, Cummins, funny enough, Shimano, their plant's maybe 5 minutes away from here.
You never told me that. I've been up there multiple times, and you never shared that information with me.
Yeah, so I've met with them guys a couple times to try to get on their boats and kind of detail them for free, just to create a partnership. Maybe this podcast will catch their attention and we can kind of revisit that. That'd be cool.
Yeah, no. So with that too, like you said, like let's really start off from the beginning, right? And I want you to kind of discuss well before Marine Detail Supply. So you're a veteran, right? You served in the Navy, is that correct?
Yep. Yeah. So we'll go with a quick backstory. So born in St. Augustine, Florida. Parents split up, moved up to Cape May, New Jersey when I was 10 or 11. Raised with my father and my grandmother there. Commercial fishing, that's, if you guys aren't familiar with Cape May, New Jersey, that's the Mid-Atlantic 500, one of the bigger sport fishing tournaments, home to Viking and Valhalla.
Is there drones over there right now?
Oh yeah, my dad sees them every night right now. He lives a block off the beach, and he's been seeing them every night.
Oh man, that is so crazy. What a crazy story.
Yeah, high school there in Cape May, and then really didn't want to do the college route. My father supported that, so I went to work on the commercial fishing docks as a not a dockhand, but really I was rebuilding hydraulic winches and kind of rigging from when they go bunker fishing or scalloping or trawling. And then I ended up joining the Navy a couple years later, spent some time out in Seattle for 6 years. And then
what'd you do for the Navy?
So I was a machinist mate, basically a glorified mechanic. I was fortunate enough to be on an aircraft carrier for 6 years, do a couple deployments. And then I came here to Charleston and did some building maintenance, facilities maintenance. That was, yeah, that's the shore duty. That's the shore duty you want, I was in there replacing drop ceiling tiles and light fixtures.
Mm-hmm.
And then, kind of picked up detailing again. I knew I wanted to stay in the marine industry when I got out. And originally my wife and I kind of looked at what I wanted to do. We ultimately decided to stay in Charleston, and I went to work at Freeman Boat Works for a little over 2.5 years in their rigging department. So really learning electrical and all that. And then
I want you to, I really want you to touch base on your past history there too, because I think a lot of knowledge that you gained came from there at the beginning, right? To really, pave the way for where you are now, right? So if you wouldn't mind, just kind of start from the beginning of I think you would agree that Freeman's a pretty respectable, highly respectable brand in the boat building industry. Talk to me potentially how you got the job, where did you start from? How did you work, up to?
Yeah, so when I was starting to transition, getting out of the Navy, I want to be in the marine industry. My father's always been in there. He's always been a mechanic. I kind of look at the arthritis in his hands and feet, and I'm like, yeah, I'd like to skip that when I'm his age. So I went down the avenue of marine surveying, and I know that it's not the guy I surveyed with. It's a white hair profession, meaning they're all 65 plus old gentlemen. It's not really a young man's game because of the absolute wealth of knowledge that you have to survey.
Right.
So my transitioning time in the Navy was one of those. It was during the height of COVID. I don't want to say forced to take my COVID vaccination, but I was one of those people where it was like, hey, take it or get out. So I took my first one, and that was it. There was this program at the time, and it's still active. It's called Skill Bridge, where you could get out of the military 4 to 6 months early and go work on your next venture. And that's when I originally had reached out to Freeman. And at that time, they were just moving from their second facility into their new, I don't know how big it is, 300,000 square foot facility up there in Monk's Corner.
Yeah.
It's massive. Growing. And it's doubled since then. And it was kind of just an inopportune time. So I wasn't able to participate in that Skill Bridge program. And then I just straight up applied for the job, getting out, and I got hired on as an electrician in T-top. So that facility really breaks up how they build and manage the boats. The primary section I was in T-top. So if anyone's familiar with, the T-top comes up, it's upside down. You cut the holes, lay it out, wire it up, mount the frame, flip the top on the ground using some stands, build the top, and then pick it up with a forklift and put it on the boat. And I'm still amazed to this day that, all the factories you and I have been in, I mean, we've been in probably a dozen together. There's a science to boat building. Frankie talked about it, but there's also some just like straight up, no, this is how I do it. Lifts it up with a forklift, and this measurement's good, and put it on.
So how long would it normally take to rig, a T-top on average, right? Because their average boat there's what, like, let's say 40, 42 foot?
Yeah, so I'd say, their average probably, I think 38 would probably be the safe one to say, because, when I was there were 4 models, and now there's, I think there's 8 or 9 models now.
Okay.
So when I started, it was a 34, 37, 42, and the 47, like, I remember my first boat that I worked on, the 47, was like 47 number 3. And they just literally, I think last week, maybe 2 weeks ago, celebrated boat number 1,000.
1,000. I saw that on Instagram.
And the 43 that we just ceramic coated last week was like number 190. So, I mean, they're building, the year I was there, we went from like 100 boats one year, 136 next year. And I think they're going to push out 166 boats this year.
Wow.
And that's absolutely crazy for the size of that boat.
Yeah. So that's a lot of fiberglass, man.
It's a lot of gel coat.
Oh boy, Jesus. So you started off T-tops, right? And then you didn't stay there, right? You moved on to bigger and better things within the organization.
Naturally who I am, right? I mean, everyone that knows me knows I like to work hard and I've always been called a hard charger, brown noser, but that's fine. So I was in T-tops for about 3 or 4 months, and there were some changes. They had a new plant manager. They promote from within there, and they're one of the better companies at doing so. The people who were in charge of rigging at the time, still very close friends of mine, ended up both getting the plant manager job. They kind of split the plant in half, and that left a vacancy there in rigging. I was able to jump over, learn more about all the models, and I was really in charge of what they have a whole new department now called Final Detail. I was in charge of what we used to call the last 5%. So the boat would go to sea trial. We would program it, run through the punch list, because new boats always have something broken on them. It doesn't matter.
Always.
It doesn't matter what manufacturer you are. There's no boat without a punch list.
Mm-hmm.
Really started, and then kind of interviewed for it. Really kind of did the job for 3 months with a partner named LJ, who's still there. He's running all their warranty department now. Mm-hmm. And it was a 37 and 47, because those build times, believe it or not, are real similar. And after about 3 to 4 months of that, I was promoted to head of rigging, and that lasted for about 1.5 years. And then we, the company and I kind of parted our ways after a Christmas break, and thankful for that. And, I left there with my head held high. It was not
and a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah, wealth of knowledge, just an incredible amount of connections, an incredible amount of knowledge. And now, I mean, I'm there. I'm one of their main subcontractors. There's only a few in the country. I'm here in their backyard, and we're still up there I mean, I'm there 4 or 5 days a week. It's
which
my
I'd
phone. My
I'd like to
phone
get
tells
into
me
that.
I've got 2 work. Sometimes I get in there. You guys have iPhones. You get in your phone and it says, "Hey, 22 minutes of work." Most days it says 22 minutes to Freeman Boat Works instead of my actual shop.
That's craziness, but that shows how often that you're up there doing things with that team. And we'll get into how that partnership has grown for you too. But let's really start to transition. So from there, from Freeman, right? What was your next step after Freeman? What did you do? I think
I
it
took
was
a month off.
Month off, right?
I took a month off and I did the honey-do list. And it was the first month off since I had really separated from the Navy because I think I got out of the Navy on a Thursday and I went to Freeman on Monday.
Oh, Jesus.
And then I went over to Laporte Products. And if you guys aren't familiar with T-top boat covers or Laporte Products, you've probably never heard of them, but I know you've seen their product.
Oh, well, listen, my boat has one. I've
Right.
had one for years. It's shameless plug to them. It's probably the easiest boat cover to put on and take down. And I've had it for 6 years.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
yeah.
And your warranty's probably still good if you got Sunbrella, which anything over a 3-year warranty in the marine space is huge.
It's crazy. Yeah.
So a lot of people have seen Laporte. Not a lot of people have heard about Laporte. I went to Laporte for a couple months and kind of jumped into doing their CAD design and their work and learning how they really manufacture and build those covers.
It's a big change from Freeman.
Big change of pace, right? Massive change of pace. I went from 85 hours a week at Freeman to a stern 32 at Laporte. They're a Monday to Thursday, and then their Fridays are 7 to 1, and they get 2 Fridays off a month. It's one of those.
Wow.
Yeah, they've got it dialed in. They know the business they're in, and they really treat their employees like family. It was very slow for me, and that's where we're kind of getting to where, I started picking up some yacht armor and some boat details again, and really kind of brushing that off.
So let's talk about that too. So that you moved on from Laporte, and then from there, if I'm not mistaken, you correct me if I'm wrong. Like you transitioned into a partner company. Well, I wouldn't say a partner company, but we have a really good relationship with the owner of Yacht Armor, which is also another co-owner of a marine detail supply company in Tampa, which is Michael Marino. You attended, if I'm not mistaken, a Stark Yacht Care certification class there in Tampa at Michael's.
Yeah, I went to the Yacht Armor training first, and I was incredibly impressed with the store and his layout of the shop. And as I was there,
Marine detail supply, you mean? Correct?
The Marine Detail Supply Tampa, and I think he's still in the same location.
Yes.
Just incredibly impressed with the branding, the amount of product, the amount of knowledge that he had for the boats, and then the yacht armor on top of it as the paint protection film, and a massive barrage of questions about what the store was, how it operated. It just overly impressed with that store, the owner, the way he ran it. And that's where, driving back from Tampa with the 2 guys that attended with me, it was just thinking about there's nothing like a marine detail. And I think you and I have seen that growth in the last, I've only been here, I'm coming up on year 2 now, a little bit into year 2, and it's the growth I've seen, the growth that's happened and I've heard about in the last 5 to 6 years is just, it's huge. And, slowing down at Laporte, having some nuts that I squirreled away, really trying to figure out, what I wanted to do and where I was going to be. And it was very intriguing. And that's when I think I reached out to a buddy of mine, had a mutual connection with John. And that's where I started with John and you, and kind of looked at real estate up here first, and it didn't work. And that's where I got into the truck, which is a phenomenal model that really served its purpose for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think we all would agree that, we want to make sure that we're in the area where our customers are. And at the time, I think you would agree, or we both would agree, you didn't have that location yet. So the best opportunity for you was to, take advantage of the mobile unit, right? Which is literally like a
snap-on truck.
The snap-on truck, man. But
I got the sign in there still. It says, "Watch your head, snap out, snap on, snap on zone."
Yeah, why take it out, right? It's a part of history. But the cool part about that model again is it's still something different than what is truly out there. Yes, there's other mobile supply stores, but generally it's just like a box fan, something like that, where they're able to, just grab and give you the stuff where like when you came on and your customers would come on to your truck and still do, because I know you still
Oh
have
yeah.
it, but you're mainly
Oh,
running your business out of the brick and
parked in
mortar
the West
now.
Marine parking lot right now.
Oh boy, that's
Yeah.
that's a marketing tactic in a hand
Yeah,
right
yeah.
there.
I'm moving once a week right now. It's parked in
Yeah.
the different parking lots. The
Well, it
free
does have your
billboard,
address
guys.
on the side with your phone number on
It
it, right?
it does have the address, the phone number, a QR code for the website.
You can't beat that marketing. But where I was going with it was like that truck itself is, it was an experience, right? You can literally come on there and everything is displayed on what you need to, properly deliver a phenomenal result, whether it's marine detailing or even automotive detailing. Because I think you've seen and you have yourself decided to, bring in automotive supplies just like we did here at the headquarters, and it's been able to give us to cater to all the customers instead of just those guys and gals that are on the marine side. As you know, there's a lot of people that are on the automotive side as well. And, since we've been able to do that, we've been able to really cater both parties.
100%. And that's I ended up switching out that back left part of that truck and going to an auto section. And then, shout out to John and Robert Holmes of Xanago,
Yeah.
the guy who really knows that industry and his background, and him coming up and kind of mentoring me for a couple days. And then, we've had a couple continued calls since then on, how that truck should operate. And it was definitely an experience. And in the meantime, I was able to just be like a sponge and soak in all the knowledge I can while I look for a shop. And then, my biggest prerequisite for the shop was a big door. I mean, I've got two 14-foot tall doors by 12 wide, which allows me to fit a 37 Freeman in here. I mean, there's narrow margins on either side, but we can fit some big boats in here. And that's, I think, a lot of detailers that are mobile that want to look into getting shops. Sorry, FedEx got it here.
It's all good, brother.
I think a lot of the mobile guys, and I think Drew talked about it, it's tough to find doors this big. And that was really, I kind of sacrificed a little bit of location for being able to work year round and not have any hiccups.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, with that, you still are able to, service some of the customers, because you also have a marine business outside of marine detail supply as well, right? So
Yeah,
we'll touch base on that too. So obviously the marine detail supply there, you're able to service, all the customers that we talked about before, the automotive and the marine guys, and you have pretty much everything that they could ever ask for within those four walls, right? What do you have square footage of retail space?
So my retail space is 450 square feet, and then I've probably got another 100 of shelving and backstock, and then I've got 3,000 square feet of shop.
Okay.
So we're right at 3,600 feet, somewhere right around there, minus the bathroom.
Right. So where I kind of want to, lead on to this next point is you also own and operate Oasis Marine and Auto as well, right?
Yeah, and it's confused some people. I like to the most easy way to break it down is, if I'm providing the service, I run it through Oasis Marine Auto, and then Marine Detail for me is the service, the retail side of things that I service other customers with. So, like we've got a Tidewater the guys are working on outside right now, and that job runs through Oasis.
Okay, gotcha. So talk to me on so you've been with Marine Detail Supply for coming up on 2 years, right? So what would you say is the biggest challenge that you had so far of opening the store? And then what would you say is like the biggest win that you've had so far since you have been an owner operator of the location?
The win is easy for me. And I think, a couple people in the podcast have touched on it. It's the network of individuals. And you said it in the last episode, was nobody's gatekeeping. And I think that's the most important, biggest win for me, is nobody gatekeeps. Some really good people connected to it, especially through the start class. Right. And I know that, some people get confused on the marine detail supply and Stark, but the Stark class and a network of individuals alone is the biggest win, especially for people like the deal we have with Freeman where we touch a lot of their boats. I know Jack down there in the Fort Lauderdale store is doing HCB, I believe now, right? So I mean, have that network is the easiest win. The biggest struggle, e-commerce for me. For me, I don't think the e-commerce side of it is hard. It's my refusal to pay someone else to do it. I refuse to pay someone else to do it because it forces me to learn. Shopify is the platform I use. It's extremely powerful, but it requires a massive amount of work. And it does work. If you put the work in, and you've been the biggest preacher of this, is you put the work in, you can make social media work. You can make your SEO work. And like, I know right now, Samantha and I are going through every single product, every single meta field, every single products that will work with it, that you may like with it, and ensuring all of that is in there. And when you have 800 plus products, getting through 25 a day is a task that is not easy. And making sure that your Google Analytics works. So I think the biggest struggle is, I don't think it's a struggle. I want to say the most amount of work is sitting on a computer. And it's for someone who is active and likes to move and wants to detail, that's tough. And that's where it's like, yeah, it's not like, so my first priority, I got through Stark Yacht Care first. That's my number one seller, is about 50% of my store. And then my second one is Kosh Chemi, and I sell a good bit of Kosh. So, going through and just, it's a massive pizza and you got to eat it one bite at a time.
It's pretty easy to sell two brands that are well respected in both of their industries that have, a history of performing day in and day out. Yeah. Like Stark, I don't think anybody can argue that it's definitely a leader in the marine space. And I will definitely also speak highly of Kosh Chemi, which is why we carry it as well. So if those of you out there are listening that, you're in the auto world, and if you haven't tried anything to do with Kosh Chemi, I tell you what, you're missing out on some, huge technological edges, like protector wax. Like, I love protector wax.
Oh, SO03, can't keep it in stock.
Oh my God. And then obviously I love GFX. Like right now they've got, which is gentle snow foam, but the Christmas scent, right?
Yeah. I just gave away some. I'm doing my 12 days of Christmas giveaway, and I gave away a bottle of GFX. Not Gummy Fix, but the Gentle Snow Foam Christmas.
And Gummy Fix is another one, and Ulex, like their lineup is definitely solid. And again,
strong.
And this episode will be out, before you're doing what, a 12
I'm doing 12 days,
right?
yeah. So I think we're on day 6 or 7. I'm not running it. Thankfully, I've got a social media intern. She's been an absolute blessing. I know she's going to listen to this, and I hope she listens to it.
She's doing a great job, by the way.
Yeah, she's.
I've noticed
the
difference.
Better. We're slowly getting better, and that's been another learning curve or struggle that is, just trying to keep that stuff uniform. And what do people want to see? What times do you post stuff? How do you cross post it?
Yeah,
and like, you and I've sat down and talked about that too, is like, it's easy to make content for other detailers because they see what I want to see.
Oh man, let me get into that.
How do we make content for the people who want to see it, right? I mean, YouTube is the number 2 search engine. How to?
It is.
What do we, the content side of things, which we can touch base on, is just, it's crazy.
Yeah, so you kind of hit like my hot button. That's like kind of the thing that I preach about. And I think for me, is what the industry is doing wrong as professionals. Like, yet we're utilizing social media, which I think social media is an amazing tool. If you're a detailer out there, or a business, regardless, that's in the detailing space or whatever, and not utilizing social media, I'm sorry, you're really missing out on the way people communicate these days. Whether you like it or not, that's the way that people communicate. But where I was going with that is, we have some amazing individuals that are in our network. And you touched base on that earlier. But what I find the biggest issue is I think you would agree that we're using social media to grow, right? To expand, to have other individuals find us, right? But what I find generally is, say, a detailer themselves, when they are creating content, they're creating content for other detailers.
For other detailers, you're about to give away a really big secret here on growth for these guys.
I know. The whole thing with it, and that's the thing, right? We're on here on a podcast because we're not gatekeeping. We want to help everybody grow. The issue that I find is detailers are making content for other detailers. Well, I hate to break it to you girls and guys out there, like, other detailers are not going to pay your bills. The people that are going to pay your bills, that are going to keep you busy, are customers. You need to create content to engage your customer. So yeah, I highly enjoy seeing these sunballs and all this. That is amazing. But what your customer wants to see is not just that sunball, maybe how you got to that result so they have confidence in who's doing it, right? So some tips that I would give people that are out there that are trying to make social media content, especially for your customers, is either you need to educate them, you need to entertain them, right? Are the main ones. And then last but not least, have some humor. Humor goes a long way. And I think, sometimes, everybody just takes things too serious. And when things serious all the time, it's not that fun. And for those of you out there that follow our pages, even Noah's page, like, sometimes we create videos with some fun in it. And,
Yeah.
and that's the reason why. So again, create content for your customers, not for other details. Granted, it's okay to show off your work, and I encourage you all out there to show off your work, but, maybe take somebody through how you got there, or educate them on how you were able to, like, okay, here's an oxidized boat, right? Well, this is how I did it. And you would be surprised of how much more engagement that you would receive off of that versus just, here's the before, here's an after.
And I'm going to
tell a story.
I'm going to give you the common hurdle that myself struggles with, and I think a lot of other people are going to struggle with. And you've harped on me. I've got the whole YouTube set up now, and we're about to get our second video out there. I've got another one scheduled to film. I think a lot of people are scared to show people how they did it because they don't want to deal with the keyboard
criticisms.
The criticisms. And I think at the end of the day, if you do it, you're doing it. They ain't doing it, and it may help them. I know for a fact that watching Michael Marino's YouTube video on how to polish the Black Mercury 115, and he used Kosh Chemi microcut, and now Stark's come out with Finish R since then. But my go-to, if I ever can't get a black cowling and I understand it's Merc paint, is exactly what Michael did. Is it the absolute best way? Maybe not. Is it the worst way? No. But did you get better results? And he went out there and said that this is how he did it and this is what he saw. And you just stand by what you do. I think that a lot of people, myself included, 100% myself included, is you kind of get those cold feet where you're like, damn, now what happens if this video gets 100 views or 500 views and they don't like the way I did it, or I was on my pad edge too much, or I use a single-sided, not a double-sided. I think that if we can, as a group, get over that hurdle, I think we could get a lot better content out there. And I know that, my boat show's coming up. I've got interactive displays now for my boat shows because you have to create that energy, and you just got to do it. And that's where, it sucks because we can create good content for people. And Ken, you're gonna buff a black boat very differently than me. At the end of the day, we've both been to start class, and there's a way that we teach how to do it, but ultimately every canvas is different. I mean, my last class, we did that 26 Avenger that I think we both agree on probably could have been sanded to 400. Did we have the time for it?
When you were telling me, oh, don't worry, Ken, I think we'd only have to go to 1,000 on it. Yeah, no big deal.
I think 400 would have been necessary, but we did it, and the canvas wasn't perfect. But you got to fight through those things, especially as a detailer, because I'm fortunate enough to be able to control my environment in the shop. There's guys out there on lifts. There's guys out there in dry stacks. There's guys out there on rafts, and it's not always going to be that perfect 100% that we want it to be. So if we just go out there and do it, I mean, I think we'll be better for it as a whole.
No, I couldn't agree more. So the last episode, I asked Drew, and I think with anybody that is at least in the detailing space, I'm going to ask this question because I just think it's good, right? So if you had to choose 5 pads, what 5 pads are you choosing, Noah?
So personal experience today, I'm a double-sided rotary guy, and I used the pad. I'm not going to say who. I used the pad. It's great. It's a pad I've used for years and years and years. I won't use it anymore because I've switched to the Stark Fast Pad with the metal insert. So that the white wool and yellow wool are 2 pads you absolutely have to have. With the Stark Fast Pad, the new metal insert, you just have more rigidity there. There's no question about it. So there's 2. We know Rupes yellow wool or the Stark money pad, right? Lake Country purple wool. I just got my shipment of purple haze in yesterday.
Oh, did you go grab one?
Yeah, I got there over there. I got them in today. I'll run that through its course before I say I make that switch. The purple wool's just been an absolute blessing on a rotary, on a forced rotation. Doesn't operate well on a 21, which is where the purple haze comes in with the backing pad. And then I think you hit it with the orange HDO. The orange HDO is just something that you can, for the longest time, that's because you always want to get to a boat or a car and correct it for the customer's liking with the least aggressive method.
Right.
I can't tell you for probably a year, my go-to is 21, Elevate, Orange HDO.
Right.
That was my go-to. And now my go-to is...
It's all right.
I'm like Drew. I'm going through the forced rotation love.
Yeah.
I'm going through the 3401 forced rotation love right now. And that's where, it's been the forced rotation purple wool.
Or orange.
Purple. Yeah, the purple wool force rotation's just been, it's really been, that's kind of the go-to and where I love right now.
Yeah, well, I kind of touched base, piggybacks on, what Drew was saying too, is like the force rotation does have its place in marine detailing. And if you don't have one of those, like you're really missing out, but it definitely does make you feel a little bit more masculine running that machine is like what I said, like just, I don't know, especially about the flex one too, especially how the flex switch is different than the Rupes Malay, which is also a forced rotation, but the flex actually, it spins counterclockwise versus clockwise. So,
cook some stuff off of there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there really is any advantage of it spinning the opposite direction. Obviously, I guess that could be a question for a good friend of mine, Chris Metcalf, but it definitely does give you a different type of feeling, and wholeheartedly is an amazing tool. Like,
oh yeah,
if you don't have a long throw, you don't have a force and a rotary as a marine detailer,
and that's I've created. You guys have it too, and I've created kind of like a deluxe detailer startup kit where for under $2,000, if you were to start a business today, if you're 18 years old and you want to go detail, and you've got $3,500, I would say go to the Stark Yacht Care class, and then before you leave the class, buy a Flex rotary, a Flex 3401, and a Rupes 21. You can get 2 or 3 pads of each, and you can get the full Stark lineup for free for $3,000. I promise you can have the most exclusive setup, ready to rock, be able to tackle 95% of the jobs that aren't sanding, and be ready to go. And that's one of the things is like I'm trying to talk to some of these younger detailers out there that come into the shop. It's like it's a grind to get $3,500, absolutely, but once you get it and you can get the right tools, and then Ken, I'm a massive Milwaukee fan, so I'll do a shop setup one day for you guys.
Yeah. If you showed, I think if you panned your camera over to the left a little bit from by looking at it, I think it looks like Home Depot over there in that corner with all those pack outs, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. I'll turn the camera around before we leave today, but that's where. And then the cherry on top tool for me is the PXE80.
Oh my God.
We talked about pads, but the cherry on top tool is the PXE80 just because it's so versatile. It's 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch. It's rotary, 3 mil orbit, 12 mil orbit, and now with the purple haze pads in 3 inch, and then money pads coming out in 3 inch too, right?
Yes, correct. Yeah.
So those are huge, especially And I think that one of the bigger things too with all of these newer boats, and we'll jump back and get a little off topic, but the microfiber, HDO microfiber cut might be one of my other my alternate pad. If I had a 6 to put in there, is the Lake Country white for glass polish, for glass and acrylic, because so many new boats are going to D-style piping with marine glass and not as much eyes and glass anymore, and old plexiglass. You know, that pad there, and then for now, G-Technics glass polish.
It is. G-Tech makes a killer
glass polish is killer.
Yeah.
So
let's talk about microfiber just a touch for those of you that are out there. So Noah's wholeheartedly right when it comes to glass polishing. Like that's the pad I'm grabbing, 99 out of 100. However, that pad is also amazing for you automotive guys and gals that are out there, or even boat detailers if you're messing with engine cowlings and you're really trying to pull deep defects. Okay. The reason why microfiber itself is such a great thing to use is because it actually 2X's your abrasive. But most people don't understand how microfiber actually works itself. So essentially, if you're utilizing a microfiber pad, it's going to 2X your abrasive, so it's going to cut more. Now, where I would caution all of you out there is I don't recommend it on gel coat. It will completely clog the pad rather quickly.
Yeah.
Make sure you're using it on glass, acrylic paint. Most of you, if you don't know, like car paint, it's plastic, okay? Clear coat is in a form of plastic, essentially. So, you know, that pad and Elevate is dangerous.
Live well acrylic, one step microfiber with Elevate, and then, you know, black foam triple P or black foam ignition, and you can really bring some acrylic back to life pretty quickly and on the, you know, inexpensively.
So out of your time messing with boats, what would you say, you know, what's the most difficult, you know, issue you had gel coat wise to try to correct or fix, whether it's, you know, a particular thing with an OEM or, you know, what would you say that is?
I'm going to give an answer that not a lot of people like. I think, you know, I've been extremely fortunate to have some really good clients and some OEM deals, and I've been able to, with the help of the storefront, be extremely choosy on the work that I take in. So fighting bigger boats or gel coat, you know, everyone talks about the Carver. Once you figure out how to run it, I think there was
Carver.
Yeah. Well, we had an old privateer in here, and the privateer was really my first, you know, baptism in restructure. Right? It was, you know, it didn't need to be sanded, but level R just wasn't doing what I needed to do, and that's where, you know, shout out Drew.
Was it real thirsty?
Oh, it would drink some stuff, and that's, you know, shout out to, I think I may have called you a couple months ago for that, but you know, ultimately, again, between you and Cole, it was, hey, run restructure and then run your level R, and then you can really kind of pull it out and kind of correct it. And that's where, you know, not a lot of people talk about restructure and how it can really hydrate that older gel coat. It's hard, extremely hard gel coat, extremely well built boat. I think it was a 93 or 94.
What color was it?
It was white.
Okay.
It was a white boat, but I mean, it just wasn't doing what it needed to do, and that's where.
So elaborate on it. You know, so like generally you're running your level R stage, right? Which I think you would agree that level R is going to be, you know, it's going to cover 95, 98% of whatever that you got to do. But in this case, it falls underneath that 2 to 3 percentile where you had to do something different. So describe what you saw and what, you know, made you go to restructure because of it.
Yeah. So it just, you know, it was cutting out the oxidation, but it wasn't, you know, level R finishes out really well for those guys who have used it and who love it. And it just wasn't bringing out any gloss. It still looked flat. And what I mean when I say flat is it looked clean, it looked uniform, but it was just dull. There wasn't that shine to it. And, you know, kind of looking at that gel coat and Drew brought it up, is massive amount of light, right? I mean, you guys know my Milwaukee lights outside. I'd show you the world's greatest light. It's not the scan grip, it's the Milwaukee light.
Is it the
No, it's a single post one, and it's got the 6 different modes on it. They're pretty hard to find.
single post? What do you mean the single post?
I'll grab
no,
it
it's the
for you.
same one with the 3 legs, right? With the octagon head.
No, I've got a square one.
Oh,
Yeah, I've got a square one. It's like $160 for a handheld light. It's and
Really?
you could change the temperatures on it.
Are we talking about the handheld one?
Yeah, the small
Oh,
handheld
wait.
one.
Okay, no,
I've got
that one.
I've got the big tripod ones. Those things are massive. Put a 6 amp hour battery in it and forget about it. No, so it was just dull, and I couldn't figure out what I was gonna do to kind of bring some shine in, and that's where I called you and Cole, and it was that restructure just runs a little bit differently, and it's able to lubricate, and I think you can break down on why that is, and and carvers use restructure too.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's essentially it's because the gel coat's pretty thirsty, right? And if you look at the chemical makeup of like how Level R is, it's kind of like toothpaste, right? It's real thick, and when you have a real thirsty gel coat like that, it kind of sucks it in, it kind of dries out the compound, so it doesn't give it a lot of time to work, to do its magic, right? Where the advantage of when using restructure, it's got a little bit more lubricity, a little bit more working time. So, its viscosity is a lot thinner, right? So you can run it a little hotter as well. So when you have a real thirsty gel coat like that, having something with a little bit of extra lubrication is what helps you, essentially get to that result. And that's why. And that's not the
wonder how
fault of
Blaze is going to work on it. I'd love to get the boat back and check out some Blaze on it.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously it's got the added lubricity of what's in there for its magic to make it happen. But I would think that you would get that same result there. And the difference between the two, and I know we're kind of going down a rabbit hole of, product. Restructure's a non-diminishing abrasive that's been out forever. Yeah. The difference of Blaze, it's the diminishing abrasive, but it has like multiple levels of abrasive in it that break down equally. So that's really where the magic comes in on that one. And, that added lubricity definitely would help out on a real thirsty gel coat that's like that. So besides that, right? So let's talk a little bit about, Oasis Marine as well a little bit too. So not only do you do detailing, I think you do some rigging and stuff like that there.
Yep. I don't do as much as the rigging as my 2 guys do. So I've got 2 really talented electricians that work for me right now, and I've taught them how to be detailers, right? They've gone through the start course, and they're really good at it, but they absolutely hate detailing, which is fine. It's not everybody's cup of tea. Everybody likes what they like, and they're phenomenal electricians and riggers. That's kind of where I kind of facilitate the job and make sure I oversee it, make sure the insurance is there, make sure pieces, parts, and materials are there. And we don't do service and warranty. And I want to make that clear to anybody listening that's in Charleston that wants to get work. We only do aftermarket. I'm only installing new stuff. I'm not fixing old stuff. I don't want to do it. I don't want to get into that rabbit hole. I don't want to be changing out impellers. The team doesn't want to do that. So we're fortunate again to be able to pick and choose what we want to do. And it's not for everybody, and not everybody has that advantage. And again, I'm sorry, it's going to upset some people, but it's our business, and we've been able to decide how we do it.
Yeah.
So Oasis I think mostly we're doing aftermarket stuff on Freeman's. Freeman's a production facility, and they do trolling motors on their 28 model, but our biggest breadwinner is trolling motor, Starlink installs, inverters, the very occasional chiller plate, and then we've been doing a lot of lithium jobs.
But the main thing I think that you are really known for, especially when you started gaining a partnership with Freeman, is you are the go-to guy and team that not only correct those vessels to make them a showroom finish, but you are also the ones that ceramic coat those vessels. Is that correct?
Yeah, correct. So I think, like I said, I think they're rounding down on their final number of 166 boats this year, and I don't know if that includes the 28 or not, which I don't think it does. Which is probably I think they did 55, more than one a week for the 28 Freeman, which is ludicrous. Kudos to that team over there. They're crazy. I think we've touched 67 boats this year, ceramic coating wise.
That's a lot. So, and in
A
there,
third, yeah.
sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's crazy. So let's talk about that a little bit. What would you say? Because I get this question a lot, because I think you would agree that, Freemans are a pretty popular boat.
Mhm.
And, I've even had to piggyback and lean on you a little bit too for, those that are within the network. This is not your standard boat that you go and quote, and, you estimate the amount of coating that you're going to use, because a 37-foot, monohull is not a 37-foot cat boat.
Correct.
Right. So if you wouldn't mind, like, talk about the difference a little bit. And then for those that are out there that are listening, maybe give them an estimation on how many bottles of coating they should be using on a 42-foot, right? Cat boat versus a monohull. And then maybe
If you're
the
buying
pricing.
from me, you guys need 27 bottles.
And then maybe just discuss kind of like your pricing difference, because I think there is, and you don't have to give me the
I'll
ultimate
share.
We're not,
We're
but maybe
we're
the
not gonna
difference
gatekeep.
between the two, you know what I
Yeah.
mean, that you would charge differently.
So let's start. We'll start real quick. We'll make it quick. Started coating them, had a decent system, understood from my background production and how to make things a little more seamless. Again, detailers really want to control their environment as best they can. I'm in South Carolina. We get a decent amount, like probably 10 months a year we're good to work in. You get a little bit in January's and February, a little wet and a little cold to where you don't want to really be coating out there, below 50 degrees, stuff like that.
Yep.
Did it for a couple months with a couple different people. I had Nate, he's here with me. He's now up at Deckett doing some really good things there. I had a buddy with me who started coating. It was the three of us. And as the business grew and those contracts came more and more, I was able to bring in some more people. We started doing some electrical, had Jake and Johnny, now Napoleon, Nate. There's been a handful of people that have come through. And then obviously my biggest shout out is to Coastal Details, Logan, who I think you're planning to get on the podcast here one day.
Yes, sir.
We had a really good system. We thought we were really good at it. And I knew we weren't good enough. So I called Cole. Cole works on the big boats. And, 47 is a big boat, but it ain't no 80-footer like those guys down there Trident do, and those big South Florida crews. And I know that we needed to make that jump. And that's where we really kind of brought him up for a day or two and honed in on our process. So we'll start there with the process. Freeman does a phenomenal job with their finishing. The factories that you and I have been to do a phenomenal job with their finishing.
Yep.
However, they only finish with a rotary.
Yep.
And as us detailers, we know that you're going to have those swirls. You're going to have those rotary scratches. You're going to have those minor defects that is finished with a rotary. And there's nothing wrong with that finish. But the people who buy these boats and hey, can I get that light, Jacob? This one. Thank you. The Milwaukee light.
Yeah, that is one of my favorites, man.
Yeah.
I turned you on to that light.
2127-20 if you guys want to know. 5 different colors, 3 different modes, 15 different things you can get out of it. The process and getting it down is the important thing, because these customers and clients they've waited 2 years for their boat to say, hey, you got to wait 3 more days, your boat's finished. They've paid the bill, they've got insurance, they scheduled transport, and they're like, I'm not going to wait 3 days, I want my boat. Right now it's great because nobody cares about getting their boat in January. But I know the jobs I have lined up in April and May, we've got to be able to turn them quick. When we tell people that it is possible to fully correct, 2-step correct, polish, prep, and do a dual layer coating on a 47 Freeman in under 18 hours, people are kind of baffled at that. And that's where a 28 Freeman.
But what they don't know is you bring a freaking army, man.
Yeah.
It's not people doing this.
It takes 5 people, and it's 5 people, 4 people if they're really good. But now we've kind of dialed it into where 36 and below, 37 and below is really just.
And that's
people.
18 hours straight, not stopping.
You got to get it done. So the process, working with Cole, we kind of created some packages. So I've got 3 levels of packages with the coating. So just call them ABC, silver, gold, bronze, whatever you guys want to call them. And all of this is have to manage your customers' expectations.
Yeah.
Those are 3 different price points and 3 different things. If you're happy with Freeman, package A is going to be triple P, foam or money pad, white single layer coating, which is always either Repel or Kraken.
Yeah.
If you want package B, we're going to do two steps of correction, right? That's always going to be for us the forced rotation with Kosh Chemi's H9. Really brings out some depth on that gel coat, corrects all those swirls, and then we come back triple P money pad on a 21, and that's a dual layer, whether it's Repel Thor or Kraken Thor. If it's Kraken Thor or Kraken, we have that wait time in between that we try not to do. So if it's package B, like I said, we go Repel Thor, which is, that's the bulletproof. That's the moneymaker for Stark Yacht Care's coatings.
Well,
now we're learning more
true,
about,
man. I mean, it's between.
I like to call it bulletproof.
Not bulletproof, but it's like proven. Let's call it proven in the space. It's not something that's new to the market. It's been out for a long time, and it's got its process. The second step with Thor is just so easy. It's just a no-brainer.
Too easy.
Yeah.
And then we've got package C, which is where you get a couple customers bite, and we're upwards of doubling package A's price.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we sit back and we look at it. We block sand out some defects. We'll sand most of the boat out, 1,000, try to spot sand it. And then you work that whole thing up, level R, white wool, elevate, yellow wool, triple P, money pad. And then, that's always Repel Thor. And that's the bee's knees, the T-top, underside T-top, the hull sides, motors, under gunnels, gutter system, all the furniture. And if you guys have ever been on a boat that has a 13-foot beam catamaran, it's a lot of boat. It's a lot of gel.
Yeah, and then, those T-tops are the size of some boats.
T-tops. Yeah, T-top. You could probably put a 50 on the T-top and run it.
How many bottles of coating you gone through on a 42?
Just one.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, now we're typically we'll call it 5 and change. I don't think it's ever been 6 and change. It's
more Repel than Thor.
The system. Oh yeah, much more Repel than Thor. Mm-hmm. And then Kraken, you could probably get away with 4 bottles. And then, I don't know. We're not going to gatekeep, so we always use aluminum too. Aluminum's one of those coatings that we like to coat with non-skid. So we coat our non-skid in the aluminum coating. I know that people have talked about it. I know that people are scared of it. That's a wet coat too. We're just putting it on non-skid, letting it soak in and leaving it. And then, so that's usually 2 bottles on a 42. So, we're somewhere between, 4 and 6 bottles, and then your smaller boats, usually 3.
What about a 47? Is there that much difference?
It depends on what they want to do, because, some guys want their boxes coated.
Oh, talk about that.
Yeah.
They think it's just,
there's some guys that want, no, it's over 1,000 square feet.
Yeah.
It's over 1,000 square feet. It's an extra
say that again.
3 bottles.
It's 1,000 square feet of just their boxes. Over.
Just their boxes, yeah.
That is
well
crazy.
Over 1,000. Those are usually single layer, and that's where I like to try to give them 2 prices for that, a reboot price and then a Repel price.
Yeah.
And that's where it's, I literally tell the guys, hey, it's an extra $6,000. Because now you're polishing. It's a whole day on that alone.
Essentially another
we've
boat.
only done that. Yeah, we've only done that once or twice, but like I said, the system works. If we can get the boat in the shop, it's always good. But being up there, being a guest in somebody else's home and having to deliver the quality is tough. And the coordination that we get from those guys up there from Scott Corcoran and all the way down to the guys working their final detail, washing their boat, has been really on the uptick for the last 6 or 7 months, and it's been allowing us to just get better and better at what we do.
Yeah. So you talked about the amount of coating. if that was a 42-foot monohull versus a 42-foot cat hull, how much price difference would you charge over a monohull to a cat? Just the difference. You don't have to give me the total numbers.
Yeah, I mean, 60 to 75% more.
Wow.
Because, I mean, we're doing the tunnel too.
Which is, that's like another hull.
So we
do
2
hulls.
Yeah, so we're doing 2 hulls, a tunnel, and then your quad motors. 42 monohulls, typically 3 motors. And these are all V10 400s. Typically, we're seeing a lot more Yamahas out there coming out on Freeman's though. We got a quad boat coming up with 450 XTOs, that's a massive count. And there's 4 of them.
So on a boat term, what kind of guy are you? A Yamaha? Are you a Mercury guy? Suzuki guy? What are you choosing? If you have your own boat, you get the.
I don't have a boat.
If you ever bought one, right? Or gonna buy one, or make one, or build one, like in the future, and you had to choose one engine, what do you choose?
There might be one being built. We're going Yamaha. We like to get home.
Yeah, that's a good old saying. Like
home.
If you want to go fast, get a Mercury. If you want to get home,
you
get a Yamaha.
But I mean, look, I can go. We can talk about Suzuki now.
Hey, listen,
there's another good podcast out there. Is it called the Boater Podcast? I forget those 2 gentlemen, but they go back and forth. And Suzuki 350. Is it 350 or 300s? Which one? I forget which one they go to with the dual prop.
That's the 350. Yeah,
the 350.
Mm-hmm.
The Suzuki's their fuel economy is great, and those guys put some hours on them. But I mean, how many listings do you go out there and find a Yamaha with over 1,000 hours on it?
Yeah,
plenty. You don't find a Mercury one with that.
Well, I disagree, but truth be told, like since the technology advancement with 4 strokes, I don't think you can really go wrong with any brand's engine. I think at the end of the day, it's almost similar to like the good old Ford, Chevy, Dodge debate, right?
Yeah.
But
you're driving a Dodge, right?
Yeah. Well, they're not called Dodge anymore. It's called Ram, right?
Yeah.
So do you.
Mine's a Cummins, so we're good to go.
But so, with that too, like you talked about earlier, you have some e-commerce, right? So what's your e-commerce website?
Yeah, so that's we'll go with the shameless plug out there is the Marine Detail Supply Charleston.com.
Yep.
And that's where I know we've mentioned it and talked about it before, and how each different website is a different location, and how it supports that individual store's finances, right?
Yep.
We know we order them from marinedetailsupply.com. That's the Fort Myers headquarters.
Yep.
That's why Ken's drinking out of a different coffee mug on every different podcast. You guys should send him. I think we might start sending Ken some different mugs for all the podcasts.
Hey, listen,
we'll put a mug wall behind
I wouldn't mind a Marine Detail Supply Charleston mug. You can send me one of those. I'd gladly rock it.
We'll slap the sticker on.
There we go.
And then, so mine's Marine Detail Supply Charleston.com, and then we're slowly working on Oasis Marine and Auto.com, which is, really more for the services. Haven't really booked the services and done a whole lot of building on it, but eventually I'd like to be able to resell the common stocked items, right? Abyss battery is phenomenal. I'm an authorized reseller for them, so like if I'm buying a pallet at a time to do some jobs, what's the harm in listing it to make some money off of that? So eventually that website it's up and running, but it's bare bones, and my focus is the Marine Detail Supply website.
Yeah. And then you have an Instagram account too, which is Marine Detail Supply
Charleston. Yeah, we're YouTube, TikTok now. Apparently.
So what's the YouTube handle? Is it Marine Detail Supply Charleston?
I think it's just Marine Detail Supply Charleston. Then TikTok's like MDS.Charleston. So they're all linked on there.
If TikTok gets deleted, man?
Well, we got like 40 days left, right? We're gonna keep politics out of this conversation.
Yeah, no, let's do.
Yeah, we'll keep that one out of there. Trump's gonna save it. No, I'm just kidding. Edit that out. Yeah, so we're there. We're on all of them, and that's really a big thing is how do we produce a marketing schedule and a strategy and what people want to see. The Charleston Boat Show is coming up. Hadrill's Point and Tackle, a very local tackle shop here in Charleston, has a big expo coming up. Myrtle Beach has a boat show coming up. Making sure I think I've gained probably like 25 followers with this giveaway, which is great.
Nice.
So if you guys haven't entered, you've got some stuff to enter. There's I'm giving out a free bottle of coating here in a couple days.
Let's go.
Some applicator
I
pads,
might
some
have to
surface
enter.
prep. Yeah, a bottle of Liquithor. And then if you guys don't know, in the shop right now, we've got a 1987 Boston Whaler that the guys just finished a full refit on. Fully painted, all original mahogany back in it, original nav lights, ready for power. I'm not going to power it for anybody. They can power it on their own. Brand new bunks, good trailer. That the final day's giveaway is going to be an entry for that raffle.
Wow.
$50 raffle. You're going to get a 16-ounce bottle of anything that you want from Stark Yacht Care. So you get a little value in there too. And then you're going to be entered to win this raffle for this whaler.
That's awesome. For those of you out there listening, definitely jump on that. So, do we get a raffle for what's behind you? What's that green thing behind you?
Well, that's my partner's Fiat. So that's a 1967 Fiat 600C. Fully operational, running. I wanted to do the podcast inside of that, but we chose not to. We wanted to get some better lighting in here. So that thing's pretty cool. It runs. The Boston Whaler is painted the same color to match it. And
so
there's a joke that we may put a trailer on.
Like a Tiffany blue or something, isn't it?
Yeah, Tiffany blue, yeah. We may put a trailer hitch on it and tow the 13-foot Whaler behind that Fiat to the Charleston Boat Show. Just for fun.
When is the Charleston Boat Show?
Charleston Boat Show is January 24, 25, 26. And we will be going live on Instagram talking about removing oxidation. So I've got a little package put together, $150, right? That's another e-commerce shameless plug. 32-ounce bottle of Blaze, 32-ounce bottle of Finish R, a white wool pad and a yellow wool pad for $150.
Wow.
And I'm going to sit there. We've got the full lineup of rotaries in here. Bauer, DeWalt, Makita, Fleck, Rupes, just about any rotary out there, Iron Ton. We've got some random ones, and I'm going to want the customer to come up and grab the rotary, and I'm going to walk them through using Blaze and Finish R to remove oxidation and then bring a nice swirl-free finish to their boat so that the customers can do it themselves.
Nice. So out of all those rotaries that you just named, which one are you grabbing first?
Man, Ken, you know this from day one. It's the Flex 14-2 150.
It's what do you like to call it? The Bentley of rotaries?
Yeah, you can call that the Bentley of rotaries. You can't beat that thing up. I don't know, though. Jacob, who's walking around over here, might disagree. I think he was using a DeWalt today. Yeah, he's using the DeWalt. Man, that's Ken right there.
Good old DeWalt, man.
Is your back to black video with the DeWalt?
It is.
Yeah,
it is.
DeWalt. I mean, I'm looking at the Bauer one right there. The Bauer one's fun to run. But let's talk about, again, Flex with their 24-volt system. That's pretty cool. I don't think with what I do, I'd be a massive advocate of it. But for those guys who are going out there to do, a transom or, a patch and something where they're not going to be running the rotary all day and you've only got to run that rotary for an hour, that's the tool to have if you're fortunate enough to be able to have it.
Yep.
Going out there with that, being able to rip through 3 steps on a transom before you put a new decal on, that's where that thing's really going to make its money for me.
Yeah, no doubt. And just to kind of piggyback off of what you're doing at the Charleston Boat Show, we're going to be also at MTE here towards the beginning of 2025 in January.
So that's the following weekend, right?
Yeah. So January 30th, I myself am going to be at Mobile Tech Expo there in Orlando at the Gaylord Palms, doing an oxidation removal training session as well from 11 to 11:45. So those of you out there that are listening that aren't familiar with it, Mobile Tech Expo is held again, like I just said, in Orlando, Florida, at the Gaylord. Generally, it's predominantly more automotive for the automotive detailer. However, we've been there for the last couple of years and really have taken the lead, at least in the marine space, to really try to help those guys and gals really maybe add an additional part of their business on the marine side versus just the automotive side. So if you guys are interested, I'll be there. Are you coming this year? Weren't you there last year with me?
I'll be there. I was there last year. It was a rough time, but it was definitely good for me to be there.
Yeah.
I had just lost a friend that weekend. And
it
was tough, but I was there. But I do want to talk about where we started this program was with the network, right? We talk about it. I met two different gentlemen down there, and both of them are now recurring repeat customers. One of them has came to the Stark Yacht Care class here in Marine Detail Supply Charleston.
Mm-hmm.
He brought another individual out. His name is Stephen Valentine. He's down there about 45 minutes south of me in Charleston. He brought on Jamie Buchanan from up in North Carolina
Was that
somewhere.
Old Dirty Cars or something like that? Well, right at TV
Visual,
show?
yeah, he's gonna be here on Netflix soon. He was on the History Channel. His business is called Visual Perfection.
Yeah.
So,
but I think it's
MTE,
Old Dirty Cars or something was the TV show.
Old Dirty Cars, yeah. He does some cool stuff.
Dude,
he's a character. He's a great guy, and he has a massive establishment that really cranks some stuff out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, MTE car guys, paintless dent repair. Like, yeah, this is not the marine space. This is not where we should be.
Yep.
But the network that we're able to, I mean, myself, I've benefited from, and, you know, Steven, who now does boats because he met us there.
Yep.
And then Jamie, who came, and if he has to add a boat, he has that tool in his tool belt.
Yep.
And it's just, you know, it's just a network of people. If I have something wrong with a car, I can call either of those guys. And it's just, you know, that's where paintless dent repair. I had a gentleman come in here and rent my space for a month and a half doing paintless dent repair, and now I have that network to continue to grow on.
Yep.
So, and then again, the last shameless plug, one of the bigger right hands is that young individual Logan with Coastal Details, and then my team here, Napoleon, Jake, Johnny, Jacob, who's starting to pitch in a whole lot more. Kind of, it's one of those guys that just starts showing up at the shop and not really leaving.
Yeah.
You know, so he'll be here today, tomorrow with us, and you know, it's definitely been a massive effort from a lot of people to get where we are going into year 2, right? I mean, Ken and I, you know, we speak 3-4 times a week.
Yeah, easy.
The crew there, Danny, Rich, right? I mean, Rich is probably tired of my phone calls at this point. I just text him nowadays. Yeah, I think I've ordered 7 different things in the last 4 days, and I'm just like, damn, I should probably just wait to put a pallet together. You know, John, Cole, Jack, Julio, Michael, like the whole, I mean, even Dan over at Yacht Armor, just the network is massive. I don't think any one person is fully responsible for the growth.
No.
But as a whole, this is how we've gotten here. This is how you guys are in a massive facility now that I think you've already outgrown in the first year.
Yeah, it's
Right.
it's crazy. Like, we already had to build like an off-site storage facility just because we you know, the growth, and we thank everyone out there for that too, because we owe a great bit of gratitude to everybody that's listening and watching, and hopefully we are able to continue to grow and again, like, help the entire network. That's our whole thing. Like, anybody that's out there listening, again, call Noah. Like, he's a wealth of knowledge when it comes to anything to do in the marine detailing space, when it comes to chemicals or anything along the lines, even in the automotive space. You know, if Noah doesn't have the answer, he knows somebody where he can get that answer from. So, you know, again, I mean, with that, Noah, like, I really appreciate you jumping on and being the inaugural marine detail supply
appreciate
owner,
that.
right? That was able to hop on the detailer's dock.
Yeah, I like the detail guys. I've been an advocate since day one. And like I said, it's tough not to get into my Ken and Noah routine 5 o'clock call, because that gets pretty hot and heavy sometimes, right? But I mean, the growth has been there for us. The respect has been there for us.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
You know, we'll continue to keep pushing each other. And if you guys really want the shameless plug, Ken likes oysters.
Oh, that's a fact.
If Ken is out there for training and you guys got good oysters or something,
you want to butter me up, you better have fresh oysters.
Yeah, that's where right. And then again, the network of people and how connected everyone is, and at least the people I've dealt with that are willing to help and grow this as a team are why we're here. And like, you know, I know Drew talked about it, and I think most of the podcast people have talked about it, is, you know, how do we standardize this and get it to where, and it'll never happen, but it's worth the fight, I think, is getting the detailers around you to get on the same pricing schedule, to have the same amount of knowledge, to understand what to use and where and how to buy it. And, you know, it's just like, you know, I'm not going to talk bad about West Marine Pink soap, but guys, come on.
or Pine. I just saw
come on, guys.
What was it? A video on TikTok. Somebody was talking about Orpine. I'm like,
Come on.
So
Come on,
let's
guys.
tell them real quick.
Pure Clean.
No,
Pure
or
Clean. Listen,
pine.
guys. Pure Clean. Yeah. Pure Clean is $60 a gallon. Or Pine and West Marine Pink are much more than that.
Yeah.
You guys, if
And
you're a
it'll strip your
professional, you get
waxy sealant.
25% off. If you're a professional, you get 25% off.
Yeah.
If you've gone to the class, you get even more off.
Well,
And that's where it's just like, guys,
come on.
use some good soap. Use some good soap. We could talk about products all day here.
No, well, we
Replenish.
can save that one
Replenish.
for the next episode. I'm sure
Yeah.
that you and I will
We'll have to
definitely do this again. And
we'll
again,
have to
like,
get this together, see who's at the Miami Boat Show, and kind of sit
Yeah.
down and get 4 or 5 or 6 people around, or maybe go out on a sea trial and get left on an island and do a podcast.
no, that sounds terrible. Not really. Sounds
Yeah.
amazing.
As long as there's oysters,
Yeah. If there's oysters,
I'll
I'm there.
definitely, if you guys are interested, I'll be there at Mobile Tech Expo, and then, I'll make sure I'm always at the Miami Beach Boat Show. I'll probably spend a lot of time with Freeman, since we'll ceramic coat all of their demo models, and we'll be responsible for washing those in the morning there. So if you guys want to see it, come check it out. I had a quick call last year, real quick, and this is kind of how I've really kind of started changing it, and I'll never forget this. I got a call on a Wednesday morning, which was move-in day for the boat show, and it was raining down there in Miami.
I
The
remember
boat
this,
left.
yeah.
The boat left Charleston on Saturday, and between onload, offload, docking the boat, everything, it was just general dirtiness, just general shoe wear and tear. And it rained Wednesday night or Tuesday night into Wednesday morning, and I got a call from someone at Freeman asking if I had been there to wash the boat, and I said, no, I'm still up here in Charleston. I'm not coming down till tomorrow. And they're like, well, someone washed the boat. And I'm like, no, nobody washed the boat. Nobody that I know washed the boat. And about an hour or two later, they called back and said, yeah, nobody washed the boat, but it's cleaner. And I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, well, it rained last night and it rinsed away most of the dirt. So about all of it. So the ceramic coating and the protection and the ease of use on it. I mean, sure, guys, it's a new boat and it wasn't super dirty, but for someone,
That just shows how well it works, man.
yeah, for someone to be up in a higher up thing, and that's where, that's kind of really sealed the deal. And I know that actually Monday I'm going to do Billy's new 47 wide.
Nice.
Freeman came out with the 47 wide console with the integrated furniture and a massive console. You could live in the console. So stay tuned for something bigger from them. So it'll be fun. It's definitely enjoyable. If you guys want to know anything, you guys know how to reach out to me or Ken, and we'll continue to fight the good fight. Yeah. Shine out boats, make some Sunball Sundays or Hot Dog Tuesdays.
That's it. No more Hot Dog Tuesdays, but definitely more.
No more Hot Dog Tuesdays.
Sunball Sundays. So again, Marine Detail Supply, Charleston. That .com, as well as Marine Detail Supply Charleston on Instagram. Noah, we appreciate you, man. And
Ken, man, always a good pleasure.
Always, my man. Appreciate you.